This is Charter Local Edition. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are in the Inland Empire today, and if there is ever an episode of this program that you should watch, this is the one. I have been working with the Sheriff's Department and the Fire Department for months to try to put this episode together to talk about an innovative solution that these two men have developed. And I have to tell you, it will inspire you like you've never been inspired. So often we think about and talk about those that are incarcerated and what happens after they leave incarceration. Well, these two have thought about it and they're doing something about it. We are joined by Mark Hartwig. He is the fire chief for San Bernardino County. We are joined by John McMahon. He is the sheriff for San Bernardino County. They have come together in a way that makes you realize government sometimes can work. Mm-hmm. And this is an example of government working and working together and not at cross purposes. I want to speak with you, gentlemen, about what's known as the Inmate Fire Crew Program. I don't know who to ask first, but how did this program start in San Bernardino County?
Well, I could start, Brad.
Please.
And just kind of explain a little bit about the history of inmates in our county.
Please.
And as you know, the sheriff is responsible for inmates that are sentenced to county jail.
Right.
And in October of 2011, as we've talked before,
yes,
AB 109 came into effect. And we are dealing with a different level of inmate now.
And let's explain that for our viewers, because AB 109, prison realignment, sent, we'll call them lower level offenders from prison to jail.
Right.
You run the jails in San Bernardino County, the largest geographic county in the lower 48, by the way.
That's correct.
And so you now had your prison population expand significantly. Is that fair?
Certainly, yes. Mm-hmm. And so our responsibility is to do whatever we can to try to help these inmates so they don't come back to jail.
But it's funny you mention that, because I know that's your responsibility. And I believe that you take that to heart. But it's hard to deny that throughout the 90s and the last decade, we were really about, and I know you're the fire chief, but we were really about, lock them up, throw away the key. I mean, rehabilitation, no. This was about retribution. This was about 3 strikes. This was about, you did something wrong and you're going to pay and you're going to suffer. Mm-hmm. But there's a sea change now, or is there?
Well, there has to be.
Right.
For those inmates that have made a mistake or two in their life and want to turn their life around and become productive members of society, I think there has to be a change.
Right.
There certainly are those inmates that will never change their life, that need to be incarcerated.
Okay.
And so we need to make the determination which ones are which, and we do that very well. But I think to the heart of this program, and what's critical for all of us to understand, is we deliver a lot of different programs, ROP programs, GED, English as a second language, a variety of things to help make these inmates successful when they ultimately get released.
And remember, with regard to your inmates, they're getting released pretty quickly because these are jails. And jails are that's another conversation. There are a few long-termers because of realignment. Yeah, but generally speaking, these folks are getting out within months or years. It's short-term.
Yes, it's certainly not like prison where they're in for life, absolutely. Well, one of the programs that we talked about was the fire crew.
And that's where Chief Hartwig comes in.
Absolutely.
What happened? John calls you up, forgive me, Sheriff calls you up and says, hey, I got an idea here. What do you think, buddy?
Well, really, that's really the way it was. The sheriff became sheriff. I was the fire chief at the time, and he said, hey, I've heard some talk. And so our staffs had talked together about it. He had, the sheriff had staff members that were familiar with the program.
So I'm a little unclear. Is this program, was San Bernardino County the first to launch this program? I think LA County tries to say they were the first, or?
No, sir. So we're the first one where the sheriff department and fire department run the program. It's an entirely county-run program.
First nationwide.
That's correct.
Forgive me. Again, I don't mean to be, a kiss, what, but how'd you think of this?
Well, so this is what happened when the sheriff calls and says, "Hey, we've got a lot more inmates. We've heard about this program. You have
when
some."
When you say you heard about this program, what program?
Well, hand crew programs. If you just mentioned
general
hand crew programs, been around forever.
And who had been working hand crew programs?
So typically, the hand crew program is run by the state fire department with the California Department of Corrections. So the oversight, the inmate oversight, is done by corrections. And the fire side is done by the state fire department.
So as it relates to prisons, there had been hand crew programs,
Yes, sir.
but this is the first program that a county has launched.
And LA County Fire that you mentioned,
Right.
their program is using fire department personnel, but using CDCR, the California Department of Corrections, as the oversight. And we said, well, why couldn't you? And that's where the
Right.
sheriff and I got together and said, why couldn't we just kind of cut the state out? Or
Right.
have a middleman, essentially.
Sure.
So could we do this ourselves?
And one could argue, I don't mean to interrupt, but if you're in jail, you're going to get out more quickly. If you're in prison, you're probably going to stand longer. And so arguably the skills that these folks are going to obtain can be put to good use more quickly. Fair?
I think so. I can tell you as well that the relationship that we've developed, the sheriff and I, in all the way to the lowest levels of the organization, really increases our ability to deal with the inmates
Right.
best on the fire crew program and anything else we do, any other program that we're working together
Okay,
on.
so the two of you got together and you decided to do this.
Yeah.
What is this? What is it exactly?
Yeah, so what it is it's taking this inmate that the sheriff deems the right inmate,
Right.
and I know that there's a whole criteria that he goes through for that, and he says, Mark, here's somebody that we
Right.
think meets the needs of your program, and for that they need to be fit.
Right.
They need to be capable. They need to be able to work with a team.
Right.
And they need to have enough time, quite honestly, on so
Oh,
that
that's
we're
true. That's a good point. They can't be too much of a short timer.
Yeah.
Right.
How much time is needed?
Well,
to be effective?
a year minimum,
Okay.
really, for us, because if you start getting much less than a year,
Right.
and you go through 3 months of training,
Of course.
and then you go through a few
course.
more months, and then you have them for ideally as long as we can possibly.
It's
have.
kind of
So the
ironic.
20
I know you want them for a long time, but but what's even more remarkable about this program is these young men. It's just men now, is that right? At this point, it's just men, but all good. These young men, they are not living in jail anymore, in traditional jails.
That's very true.
Where are they going?
They live at Glen Helen North, which is one of our facilities up by our academy.
Okay.
And it's actually a dorm, and there's no bars.
Wow.
And there is a fence, obviously,
Okay,
but
that's okay.
there's no bars, and they have much more freedom than the traditional inmate that's in a
Right.
cell somewhere. And that's also an incentive, because there are politics in jail.
Oh, no kidding.
And there are people that are in charge running
Yeah.
the different dorms and segments of our facilities. Those games don't occur in that facility because those guys all know they have a lot of freedom.
Right.
They have a great job, and they know if they mess it up, they're out and they're back in a cell somewhere. So there's a lot of incentive for them to work hard, do the right thing, and stay out of trouble.
Again, I'm rendered speechless, which is rare. I'm also rendered incredibly appreciative of both of you because you have brought us today one of the participants.
Yes.
But what's even more stunning about this is not a graduate. This is someone who's in the program right now.
Yes.
Tremendous strength to come here. He had to be unshackled because he is an inmate. And I cannot wait for our audience to meet him because I actually could feel myself getting emotional because I was very touched when I met him. And I realized that this young man's life, I pray, but I believe, is going to be changed forever.
I agree.
As a result of this. So when we come back, we're going to keep you, Sheriff, on. We're going to bring on Christian Tapia, and then we'll have you come back later in the program. My name is Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back on Charter Local Edition. Welcome back. It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the Inland Empire today. Glad you're still with us. Again, I'm going to try to keep it together because I actually find myself rendered a bit emotional when I talk about what we're talking about. We have been working for some time, Sheriff. This is Sheriff John McMahon of San Bernardino County about an inmate fire crew program that you launched in connection with San Bernardino Fire. It's about 2 years old now, and you brought Christian Tapia today.
Yes.
I can't believe I'm in your presence. I feel like I'm in the presence of a rock star in some ways. I mean, you know, you came here, Christian, and you were in shackles, you know, and you just had a smile on your face, and you're like, I'm here, you know, I'm here, and I just honor you and I thank you for being willing to talk about your journey. Tell us a bit about your journey. What brought you to the camp that we call San Bernardino Jail?
Well, the camp, like, after I got incarcerated and they put me in jail.
But and I asked you if we can talk about this. What got you incarcerated?
What got me incarcerated was vehicle theft.
Okay.
And it was a bad decision.
Right.
And the people I hung out with and made the bad choice.
But you know what? I mean, you've turned it around, man. I mean, there is no question in my mind that you're off and running. So you were given a 16-month sentence. What happened in month 2?
Well, they offered me to go to fire camp, and
but honestly, yes. How did it happen? I mean, you're sitting in jail. It can't be a good thing. And just someone knocks on the cell door and say, "Hey, Christian, I got an idea for you."
No, well, I was going to chow. Well, we'd go eat and go eat lunch. No, dinner. And then from dinner, they called my name when I was walking.
Were you scared when they
yeah,
called your name?
I was worried
what
about
did I do?
I was worried about it. I was like, oh, dang, what is this about?
What did I do?
And they just pulled me aside and they offered me, like, they're like, you want to go to fire camp? And it's a one-time opportunity if you want to change your life around.
Did you know what that meant?
I didn't know. I'll be honest, I didn't know.
And I don't know if you knew this or your staff knew this. What had you done when you were younger? The youth.
Oh, the Youth Conservation Corps was like a program for the kids to stay out of the streets and do better, so they wouldn't hang out with the wrong crowd.
But what were you doing as part of the Youth Conservation Corps?
I was out there pretty much helping out the structures, making sure everything's all right.
Right, so you had been doing stuff kind of similar to fire camp.
Yes, sir.
You had been kind of working in the streets, cleaning up, whatever it may be. Did your staff know that? Do you know if they knew that?
I don't know if they knew that, but we do research on certain inmates to try to identify those that we talked about before that are good candidates for a fire camp.
So what made your staff realize that this guy, not bad looking, you know, he seems like a good enough kid, that this guy was a strong candidate for fire camp?
His current case that he was in custody for was a nonviolent case.
Okay.
Number one.
Okay. And is that a mandate?
Yes. We don't want to put violent folks out or sex offenders out.
Okay.
And then he's in shape. As we heard earlier, that's a critical component.
I don't know, is he in shape?
He can tell you about the stuff they put them through going through their academy and then the hiking they do. And it's strenuous fighting fires and climbing those hills and creating fire line, and he can share with you. But they work real hard, and I'm proud to say these guys have gone to a couple competitions with other inmate fire crews.
Is that true?
And they win every time.
Of course they do. So tell me, so they say to you, okay, do you want to be on a fire crew? What did you think? I mean, what did that mean to you?
It meant like somewhere like to help do something with fire.
Right, you just
do something with fire. That's what my thinking was when they offered.
And then what happened? Then what did they explain?
They asked me to pack up my stuff after that. Once I got back to the tank where I was at, the cell, and I packed up my stuff and they took me to Glen Helen.
I mean, that was it. I mean, do you want to do it? Yes. Okay, let's go. That quick.
Yeah.
Take it easy, guys. I'm out of here. I mean, that's what happened?
Pretty much.
Okay, so tell us about Glen Helen.
Oh, Glen Helen, it's like, it helps you out. It's something to change your life around.
But you're not behind bars.
No.
No.
You're not behind bars.
What does it look like?
At the fire camp, you're not.
Yeah, what does it look like? Is it kind of like a dorm in a way?
It's like a camp. It's just, it feels like a regular camp.
Right. In the best sense, though.
Yes, sir.
In the best sense. I mean, this is not a vacation.
No, but it's a beautiful setting. There's trees, there's some grass, and they're in a dorm, and they sleep on bunk beds, and they work together as a group and a team. And that's what's critical about this whole program, is teaching folks how to be team players, work hard, and give them a sense that they are accomplishing something that's meaningful.
Okay, so tell me, I understand there's 3 months of training, is that right?
Yes,
How was
sir.
it? Did you feel like you were in the Army? I mean, that had to be intense.
It felt good.
Right.
It felt good to get out and just do something productive.
And what were you doing? What is the training? I mean, we can talk to the chief, but you must have a sense what the training is.
Yeah, physical fitness training,
Right.
but also classroom instruction on fire behavior and how to keep yourself safe in a
Right.
fire environment.
Sure.
And just a variety of things that any fireman would be taught in the beginning stages.
Is your family aware that you were given this opportunity?
Yes, sir.
Are they?
My mom was proud.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there's got to be a sense of pride here that, you know, you did something bad, but somehow someone saw you and like, I like this kid. I think he's got a future. And now, okay, so talk to us about the training. It was intense, but positive.
It was pretty much checking it if you're capable of doing it, and if you're capable of doing it, you won't slow everybody down. It's mainly teamwork.
Right.
Communication.
Right.
And seeing who's behind you, who's in front of you, how far you are.
And some don't graduate, is that right? Some don't make it through training.
That's true.
So
Some
it can
don't.
happen. I mean, you have buddies that didn't make it, I presume.
Yes.
Okay, so after 3 months, what happened?
After 3 months, they told me I was fire ready, and from fire ready, we got our first fire.
Tell me.
And our
about
first fire was the Mojave Narrows. It was a big fire.
Give us some background. I'm not familiar with it.
In Apple Valley, the
Okay.
Mojave River flows through Apple Valley and separates Victorville from Apple Valley. Heavily wooded area with trees and brush, and a fire started down in the river bottom, and it's County Fire's responsibility.
Okay.
So their fire crews were sent down there to help on the ground, create fire line, and put that fire out. It was threatening homes.
What did you think? I mean, again, I want to get a feel. You're in your dorm, and what happens? Does like the bell go off or something?
We're in our dorm, and then Deputy Hoffman, thanks to him, he gave us the heads up. Oh, you guys get ready. Crew one, get
It
ready.
looks like it's going to happen.
Yes.
And
we all got ready, got in the buggy, went to the fire. After the fire, we
what
caught
did you
the
do
fire.
with the fire? What were you there doing that? What'd you do?
Well, we cut line around it.
What does that mean?
Cutting line is like cutting like a scrape. We're taking everything that's fuel away from the fire that won't jump and catch on fire, so the other side of you won't be on fire, and we'll
Sure,
stop it.
Of course. Hot, I presume. What month was this?
This was around, I believe,
May or June.
May or June. Okay, so hot. I mean, it's San Bernardino County. It's hot. What was it like being out there?
it was exciting. It was fun.
Yeah. How long are you out?
I was out there on the fire.
Yeah.
I was out there for like hours.
And as I understand it, no police officers are with them. It's now the fire department who's kind of supervising, I guess you could say.
True. True.
And you feel safe with that way? I mean,
We do.
You feel good?
Yeah, we do. We haven't had any trouble with any of those inmates having any
Right.
thoughts of running away
Sure.
or any of that. And I think what's important for Christian and his team members is that their people walk up to them and thank them for what they do and tell them, we appreciate you saving the house. And for some of these guys, they've never heard that before. They truly make a difference. And I think that's what it takes to change lives.
How did it feel when you got back to Glen Ellen after
I felt good. I felt like I accomplished something in life and helped the people out, mainly the people, because their houses were in danger.
I don't know how I'm going to get through the next 10 minutes, but when we come back, we're going to speak with Christian again, and then we're going to have the chief come back and talk about how critical their help is and what happens to these men when they are released.
Great.
Sheriff, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
you.
My name is Brad Pomerance. We'll be right back on Charter Local Edition. Welcome back. It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are continuing our conversation with a remarkable young man, if I may say. His name is Christian Tapia, 19 years old, from San Bernardino. He engaged in a criminal act. He stole a car. He was sent to jail in San Bernardino County, but he was selected to be part of the Inmate Fire Crew program, a blessing in disguise, I am sure. We're joined again by Mark Hartwig. He is the fire chief in San Bernardino County. Christian, can't be easy to be here talking to some dork like me on television about, you know, a bad act, but now what you're doing.
Not a dork, but you're good.
I'm not such a bad guy.
Well, it's pretty much like some people don't like to be on TV, some
Right.
people do, and it's something to do, it's something productive, and it's an opportunity.
How did you wind up getting, do you know, did someone just announce, hey, we want someone to be on TV, or did, again, someone pointed you out?
The deputy Deputy Hoffman,
Right.
Asked a couple people if they wanted to be on TV. And
Were you hesitant?
No, I just
Let's do
got
it.
excited. I was like, let's go, let's do it. I want to see how it is.
Does your mom know?
My mom, yeah, she actually came to visit me 2 days.
And you told her?
Yeah, and
That's fantastic.
She gave me like a hug and said, "That's good."
That's great. Chief, I want to talk to you about Christian and his colleagues. What do they do for you and the department? Really dig deep and explain why they are valuable.
Well, so this is the biggest issue for us in the county. We need a hand crew resource really that's dedicated to San Bernardino County. And we talked a little bit before, the state's got hand crew programs, the federal government has hand crew programs with their hotshot programs. But the problem is when there's a lot of fire in San Diego County or Santa Barbara County or for the Forest Service anywhere in the West, we really lose that local resource. And so at that point, we kind of cross our fingers, and when we need that hand crew, we hope that it's there.
And a hand crew does what exactly, as opposed to other crews?
The hand crew is going to anchor the line,
which means?
just like an engine crew would.
Okay, which means?
Find a good, safe spot to anchor the fire, typically around the area of origin, and then you're going to start flanking the fire. On a wildland fire, you're literally going to send one crew on one side, one crew on another. You're going to split it into divisions, and you're going to start assigning resources. Fire engines have a much more broad role in fighting fire, and fighting wildland fire is so manpower intensive. Having a group of men that aren't attached to a fire engine, and there's limited resources on a fire engine, 3 typically. You have a whole crew that can.
How large is the crew?
Our crew's 14 people.
Right.
Max.
So how many crews would you send out?
We'll send everything we have available. So we have our seasonal crews, and then we have our inmate crews, both housed up at the fire camp area in Devore. And we're literally going to assign those resources. And what Christian does is Christian literally, with the training that he's received, he's red card trained, which means he can be on the fire line. You can't be on the fire line, regardless of whether you're an inmate or you're a full-time paid professional firefighter. You really do have to have that training, and the sheriff mentioned that, but very intense training, not just physical training, because they have to be able to hike those hills, but they have to know fire behavior. They have to know how to use a tool. Christian.
Tell us. I know what you're going to say. Aren't you kind of like the captain of the crew in a way?
My job is to control the speed and tell everybody where to go, because the saw, it's a lot of experience, and it's a lot of responsibility.
When you say the saw, meaning?
The chainsaw.
So you're sitting there like a bad you-know-what.
Yeah,
what are you doing?
Like the captain will tell us, like, cut 6 foot cut, 4 foot scrape. The tools will scrape, and the chainsaws will cut 6 feet wide. So nothing from the fire will catch the fuel and like jump our line.
So you got the chainsaw behind you, or in front of you. You got 13 guys behind you.
We got another saw behind us. It's 2 saws, and the rest are tools.
So what did you do right to become, I guess, the lead? What did he do right?
Well, he was identified as somebody that wanted to do it and could do it, and so he had the right attitude. I think the sheriff mentioned being able to work with a team. We know that we're much more likely to have an issue with them on their ability to work with each other than they are to be able to use a hand tool. We can teach that, but their ability to work with each other and lead. So Christian's a leader, even in the camp. He's a leader.
And for some, it may spook them to know that a inmate has a handsaw, a chainsaw.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, there's nothing spooky about that. So Christian, by learning how to use a saw, is developing a trade that will be valuable when he gets out, and that is what we're proud to be able to do. I know the sheriff and I have talked about that regularly. If we can do anything in what they're doing is no doubt invaluable
Right.
to the community and the service they provide. But if we can do anything to help them when they get out and giving them a trade, the sheriff's got a great culinary program too. I'm sure that the folks that leave that program as well have a trade that they can go out into the community.
And let's talk about leaving.
Yeah.
Christian, you're out in how many days?
19 days.
Congratulations on that. It is undeniable, and we hinted at this earlier, for so many years, you have a felony conviction, I'm not hiring you. And so I've always been kind of baffled by that. You know, there's moves to try to take off that question on applications, but be that as it may, it's very hard to get a job with a felony conviction. Yet we want these kids, these adults, to stay out of jail, but they can't get a job because they have a felony conviction.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? What is the sheriff doing? I know you can't change the world, but what, in your small way, what are you doing to make sure Christian and his colleagues can get hired based upon these amazing skills they've developed?
Well, what we can't do is we can't change the choices that have been made in the past. We can't do that. But what we can do is we can say, listen, today's a new day.
Right.
This is a new program. And if you're interested, we want to give you the tools to make yourself marketable when you get out. Christian was provided an opportunity in a program that was new, that the sheriff invested in, that the fire chief invested in. And with those skills, he's now going to be able to go out. We know this specifically because we've hired in our seasonal crew.
And that's my question. I mean, you know, are you walking the walk, talking the talk? Are you hiring your graduates?
Absolutely. Now they're competing. So there's good news and bad news. The good news is they're able to compete. The bad news is they are competing. We're not going to give them a special preference.
But at the same time, are you not giving them a ding?
No, we're now.
Because then some employers would give them a ding.
Well, it's if I have somebody just like Christian that comes in with the exact same skill set that Christian has against somebody, and it's a number on a piece of paper, against somebody that doesn't have a felony, Christian's going to struggle to compete. But what Christian brings is Christian increases his chance because he comes in and says, I'm a leader of a hand crew. A lead saw on a hand crew. I have this experience on these fires.
There aren't going to be many people with his experience. How often are you going to see that head to head? I mean, you can't get that experience on the outside. In some ways, you can't.
My interview crew looks at it and says, this was a point in time. He made a bad choice. He's taken responsibility for it. And look what he's done since.
And look, he was lead. He was X, Y, and Z.
And we'd like to hire him. And that's the good news.
Okay, so what's happening in 19 days?
I
mean, you're a firefighter, so I mean, I know the ladies will be ready, but be that as it may,
well,
I'm
gonna use my experience I have. I got trained and everything I have learned. I'm gonna take it with me out there so I could get a job out there in the wildland forestry.
So you do want to stay in this space?
Yes. There's a hand crew out there, the De La Rosa Hot Shots. I've been always trying to get into, and here's my shot.
I'm inspired by you. I thank you for being willing to come on television to tell your story, and I am confident, like I've never been, that you are on your way, and I just congratulate you, and I thank you so much. Your story will be inspirational for others like you and unlike you. And I want to thank you, Chief, for being willing to take a chance on folks like Christian. Of course, I thank the Sheriff as well. I made it through this half hour. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you so much for joining us on Charter Local Edition.
Getting more for less is smart business. And now your business can maximize returns with Spectrum Business. Increase your business productivity with internet that's 10 times faster than AT&T for only $39.99 a month. Add reliable Spectrum Business voice for just $29.99 a month with no contracts, no taxes, and no hidden fees. More savings, more productivity, maximum ROI. Spectrum Business. Faster internet, more advanced phone. Switch today.